Listen, I think that these 2 days are extremely valuable for anyone. Not the easiest experience, quite emotional, but extremely rewarding. So that's how I remember the 2 days.
Welcome to this case study. Today with Dr. Imeyen Ebong, Senior Partner at Bain & Company and Certified Professional Coach. Dr. Imeyen Ebong was a participant in one of my reflection seminars a couple of years ago. And since then, he is mentoring me and I coach him sometimes. Today, we take the time to make visible what your experiences were, Imeyen, and I say thank you that you give me and us the chance.
Hi Ragnar, it's good to be here.
Great, then let's get straight into it then. What can you, the people, tell about yourself, who you are and what you do?
As you stated, I'm a management consultant with Bain, a senior partner. I've been with the firm for 25 years. I'm 57 years old, married, father of 4, and I am a coach for some of my clients.
So now let's get back to the time before of these 2 days reflection seminar. What were your challenges and why were you curious to participate in it?
It's an interesting question. Back then I was in a period of transition between jobs. I was working within Bain but moving from one role into a different one, which put me in a position to think about what do I want to do going forward. It was a kind of a difficult phase of transition, and also I came out of a couple of years where I had constantly been pushed to doing things, doing the next thing, without ever really having the time to step back and think about, okay, where am I and what is it that I want to be doing going forward. And of course I knew you from our joint Henley experience, and I felt it would be a great match, so I took it up and never regretted it.
Great that you mentioned it, Imeyen. What were your insights from the other participants of the seminar?
I remember a quite difficult time, honestly. It was quite emotional because this stepping back, reflecting on what had resonated with me and what didn't and so on, actually brought up quite a few things. Too many things actually for 2 days, so I thought about those things, events, positions and so on for quite some time after the workshop. And I remember spending time with you and a few others, a long walk in the Englischer Garten, discussing the questions that we worked on. So not the easiest experience, quite emotional, but extremely rewarding. So that's how I remember the 2 days.
So now looking back, the seminar is a bit ago, what were your experiences, Imeyen? What have you taken with you for your life, working or probably also private?
In a sense, it's hard to say because obviously it's been 2 days, and it was more that the 2 days triggered or reinforced a process, a thought process that had already begun. But there were basically 2 things which I would want to point out that I've been that I took away from those 2 days. The first one is this principle. I knew it, but I hadn't reflected on it so much. That there is an impulse, there is something going on, and that I don't have to react immediately, but that rather I can take a minute, step back, reflect and choose my actions. So being more thoughtful about how I react to certain things, not acting on the first impulse was the first thing, which I've regularly made a practice of mine since around the time of the workshop. The second one was checking in with myself. We spoke a lot about how we felt at the time of the workshop, what resonated with us, what didn't. The German word, was ist stimmig, was ist nicht stimmig. And that is another thing that I've taken up to do regularly, checking in how do certain things, situations, client situations on a team, how do they feel and why, and what do I make out of it? And keeping myself or leaving situations that do not resonate with me. So those would be 2 things that I would point out as takeaways from the 2 days.
Now coming to an end, and I'm optimistic the others are interested as well. whom would you advise, Imeyen, to contact me without any obligation to find out about the power of reflection?
Listen, I think that these 2 days are extremely valuable for anyone, but I would point out maybe a few groups for whom this is even more important and valuable potentially. The first one would be people in a state of transition, moving from A to B, taking the time to step back. Where is it that I'm headed? Is the B that I'm headed to the right B, or should I maybe course correct? So a phase of transition, anyone in a phase of transition would profit, I think, from the seminar. The second group of people that I would recommend the seminar to are people who are a bit like I was back then, pushed, who rarely have the time to step back and again think about what is it I'm actually doing? Am I doing what I want to be doing? Reflect instead of acting. So anyone who actually feels he or she does not have the time for those 2 days, those should be people that actually should make those 2 days. And then finally, I think that any people leader, any manager, anyone with the responsibility of leading teams, leading others, should take the time to step back, learn to reflect, learn the power of reflective thinking, because obviously as a manager you have a huge impact on others, and the more reflected you are in that, the more effective you can be. So people in transition, people who actually don't have the time, and finally people with a responsibility to lead others. Those would be the 3 groups I'd mention.
Thank you, Imeyen, for taking the time. I wish you a wonderful day and look forward to seeing you again.
Ragnar, sure, great pleasure to be with you, and all the best. Thank you.